Hello, hello, everybody. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining Built by BIPOC Wisdom and Wellness Wednesday, where I interview my clients and partners on their entrepreneurial journeys. I am Chris Begonia. I am a business coach for BIPOC entrepreneurs, a LinkedIn expert, and top voice. I'm a second generation Filipino American daughter of immigrants and the first and only in my family to start my own business. I really believe that entrepreneurship is the path to equity and life design is liberation. And at a conscious exchange, we're creating an ecosystem and a movement for BIPOC entrepreneurs with a mission to achieve time, location, financial, and occupational freedom for themselves, their families, and their communities. So our goal is really to be becoming an independent business owner accessible, profitable, and sustainable for BIPOC, and helping people to create more visibility and amplify their work of all these incredible coaches, consultants, creatives, and consciencing service providers that I work with and I'm surrounded with. So today I want to introduce you all to my friend, my client, my team member, Crystal Pope. Hey, Crystal.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here as one of my first guests in this new iteration of Built by BIPOC. So, a little bit about Crystal. Crystal is a creative force. She wears many hats, many fabulous hats. If you can just check out some of her earrings, her earring game is strong. As a stylist, strategist, and a personal vibe catcher, she geeks out on pretty much everything about amplifying people's authentic vibes, especially those of busy wellness entrepreneurs through style and video. And with her signature offerings, market and style, and multiplier content, Crystal is your go-to for transforming not just your appearance, but your impact too. So super excited to have you here, Crystal, to share more about the impact and the work that you do in helping others really amplify their work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So would love for you to share a little bit more about yourself with the audience. What's something too, maybe that we wouldn't know about you from your LinkedIn profile or from your social media?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for the great introduction. A little bit more about me. I have been born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, but I've had the pleasure of residing in sunny San Diego for it's been 9 years now. So I'm getting up there. This is like my second home. I just say I'm really big into fashion. I'm really big into tech. I'm really big into marketing. And then wellness, being able to bring all those together has been just a dream, really. A fun fact, something that people may not know. So as I've been sharing more about my love for fashion technology, wearables, things of that nature, but something that people may not know is that I did have a short stint in the Bay Area. I spent a year there just to get closer to the fashion tech, and I stayed out of like over 20 Airbnbs. I just like hopped around all over the Bay Area. It was a blast. I'm upset I wasn't into like documenting my own self during that time because I had like no pictures, no videos, no nothing of that time. But oh my goodness, I stayed at some incredible places while I was out there. It was really cool.
Awesome. So friend of the Bay Area. So not just all of California, right? All right. Well, let's talk about entrepreneurship, right? So, as BIPOC entrepreneurs, I just truly believe there aren't enough of us doing what we do, serving our communities, right? And I really call my clients pioneers, building things that just do not exist yet. And I often talk about being the first and the only and the other, whether that's, in a company or as an entrepreneur, among your family to do something, right? So I'm curious, Crystal, for you, what is your experience of being the first, the only, the other? How have you maneuvered that? And how potentially has that shaped who you are today, how you work, and what informs what you do today?
Wow, that's a great question because I feel like for a lot of my life, I've been like the first, the only, the other. Like I said, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, but I always felt like I didn't, especially growing up, like kind of belong there. Like I always felt like it's interesting, even before I came to California, like it was always like calling me, like, oh, that's kind of where I belong. And there's so many ways of just like, I was always that person where I didn't mind going the extra mile. Like a lot of times people back home, they're like, oh, like I'm not driving like 15, 20 minutes. I'll drive 30, 40 minutes if the job was good enough, if it was lucrative enough. Like I didn't have problems going outside of my comfort zone, and doing things that other people weren't, maybe weren't willing to do. As far as being the first and the only, another thing was that when I worked in corporate tech, I was a lot of times the only woman, a lot of times the only woman of color, especially working in more of a technical role. And then now, as I start my business, in the beginning, I didn't really know other people that were starting businesses. That's why I'm grateful for the communities that I've been able to build now. But I went ahead and, kept it going, even if though I didn't have friends that were doing it at the time. I didn't have a lot of family members that were doing it at the time, but I knew it was a dream of mine. So I had to make it happen. So in general, I'm just a very, when I set my mind to something, like I'm going to do it. Like I can't tell you the amount of people who try to discourage me from moving to California and would tell me like, oh, it's too hard, or what are you going to do if you don't have a job? Like that was, I remember that time when I first moved, and someone was like, well, what are you going to do if you don't have a job? And it was interesting because it never even crossed my mind for that to not happen. Like it's a mindset thing. I was like, not get when, it was a matter of when, not a matter of if. And so that was just very interesting. So I've always been able to kind of have that mindset, if it's something that I really believe in and I really want to do.
Yeah. I love that so much because I know I get asked a lot, like when I left corporate America back in 2018, right? I got asked by, hey, like how do you know, like how did you know it was time to go, right? And it sounds like for you it's like I just did. There was, for me, I say there was no plan B. Like this is what I'm doing, right? And it sounds like for you to move to California, it's like that's nice, like all of y'all. Thank you for your concern, but this is the plan. And it's like, tunnel vision, like hyper focus, like there's nothing else I'm not going to do anything else, like there's no other option, right? So and sticking to it. And sometimes we have just to be so grounded in our conviction and beliefs, and believe in ourselves. It's like, thank you, I know all my lovely friends and family who care, right? And bye. Right. I'm going. And it sounds like it was a really good decision if you've been there for almost 10 years, right? So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, talking about starting your business, right? I tend to work with a lot of people who are mission driven, or creating businesses that have a purpose, right? It's not just about making money. There's a community, there's a reason behind what we're doing. I'd love to hear a little bit from you. What was your kind of impetus to start your business? Like, was there a story or a moment you were like, all right, we're gonna do this thing? And maybe did you start a business? Is your business today like the same thing that you maybe thought about whenever you first
Mm.
launched?
So my business today is not necessarily what I thought when I first launched. So I consider myself first kind of going into entrepreneurship in 2016. And so I was working at a restaurant, and I really love their food. I love their vibes. Like it was great, but their socials did not match just what what they had going on. Yeah. And it was interesting because I was more of like a lurker. Like I was like, I didn't post a lot, but I like watched, but something, just the way my brain worked, I could see the patterns, I could see what worked, what didn't work. And I was like, I can do this. Like, and then so I pitched them. I had got this presentation together. Like I had never managed anyone's socials before, but I was like, hey, let me do this for you. I want to help. I want to bring in more business, all that good stuff. And they were like, okay, let's do it. And they weren't even like, this is like I said, this is 2016. They weren't even like really keen on doing social media, but like I convinced them to like let me handle their socials. And it was such a great experience. Like this was back when Yelp was like super popular. So I increased their Yelp check-ins. I created a lot of engagement around that, getting more people come in. I helped with their social accounts, created new accounts as well, got them featured places. And then I even helped them start up like delivery, because back then delivery wasn't as popular. And I helped them create delivery partnerships, just like all around. And like that generated like hundreds of extra dollars a day. Like it was crazy. It was really cool. And that's kind of what started this my journey in social media. I would say the point that made me realize like, oh, I need to have my own business. was when, again, I was working at another restaurant. I remember I had like a really hard day. I was waitressing, and I looked, and I had made a decent amount of money, but then I looked at how much I brought into the restaurant, and then I compared that to how much I made, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I want to make this. I want this. I'm like, when I thought about it, I was like, man, so that's kind of what really just working. I've been working since I've been 13. I've had all kinds of different jobs. And after a while, I just saw people in powers of position. I'm like, oh wow, how did that happen sometimes? And I was just like, okay, I'm like, I feel like I have some skills to offer. I definitely built my skills up, but I was like, I feel like I have some skills to offer, and I can do some things that make my own way. Because I've always been kind of that person. I like to do things, do things my own way, and bring out just ideas. Because I would be at places, and I would try to bring these big ideas to them, and they just would be like, yeah, whatever. Like one of the things, like I call them toasties, but toast. I don't know if you see them in the restaurants, like the handheld, um, like
Mm.
machine
Oh
people.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh. I have been thinking about that for like ever. And I would tell them, I was like, oh, we should do that. And they would just be like, girl, that's done. Like, that's silly. And then and then now everyone's like, so many restaurants use that. And I'm like, oh, so I was also tired of just kind of putting out these big ideas and big things and just always getting turned down. I'm like, I need to create these big ideas for myself. And I'm just very mission driven. So like I said, with the restaurant, I just really wanted them to succeed. Like I really enjoyed them, and I wanted them to succeed. So I didn't really think about that as me starting my business initially, which had its own challenges later down the road.
Yeah.
But that was really the start of my journey in social media and digital marketing. And I just fell more and more in love with it. I loved how you can just connect with people online, like people you had never even met, people from different like states or countries away. And so that really empowered me. And then as far as what I do now, working with wellness, I went through, when I worked in corporate America, I had to really prioritize my self-care. Things were not going. That was like even though I've done so many things, that was like one of the toughest jobs that I had. That was my first time in corporate too, and this was 2019. And then we went into COVID. It was just a lot of things going on, and so I started prioritizing my self-care. I had a friend who started an affirmation deck, and she asked me to help her market it. And I had I thought I was done because I had got really burnt out from the past.
Mm.
And but when I worked with her in that brand, and just seeing how those affirmation cards worked for me, and just wanting to showcase that to more people, I wanted more people to be able to experience that little moment of giving yourself like 30, 60 seconds in the day and affirming yourself. And I wanted her to be able to sustain her business. I'm like, how can I get her out there so she can reach more people and not only help them but also help herself?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many nuggets I wanted to pull out of there, but we're going to come back to some wellness and sustainability and stuff, because it is part of the entrepreneurial journey, right? It's not just technically how to do the thing, but it's how to sustain it. So, but maybe the thing that came up for me was just entrepreneurs, like we just think we have solutions all the time, like when you're like the card reader or or check out at the table kind of thing, and socials, and being bold, right? And saying like, hey, I'm not a social media manager in 2016, and y'all need help here. And I love you. So like I pitched it. I convinced them to take me up on this idea. And I think that's just such a skill set that as an entrepreneur you have to have, right? Like you're creating new pathways, you're creating new opportunities and things that don't currently exist all the time, right? You're like, and sometimes like the light bulbs are just popping off all the time. So I love that as just like a quality or characteristic of you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Um, so want to talk about building a business, community, and all the support, right? I think that it can take to especially not just start but continue to grow and scale, right? I often say that it takes a village to run a business, just the way it takes a village to raise a child, right? Raising a business is it's a business baby, right? And it takes a village as well. And it's especially hard, right, when you are the first or the only and the other, right, in your family or among your friends to do it. And I also believe that it's part of the system that we're not taught as racialized folks, as marginalized folks, right? So that's really why I think coaching is so powerful and so valuable. So we can teach other folks how to do what we do, right? Um, So telling me a little bit, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, what coaching, business coaching has been like with me, and what was your main struggle as an entrepreneur before you started with me?
Yes, so coaching with you has been amazing. Like I have grown so much. One of the main things, raising my prices. But, like I still tell people, I'll be like, "Woo!" I was like, they got on me, but I needed it. I needed that, and
I was gonna say, that wasn't just me; that was your
no,
cohort.
it was the whole yeah. I was like, okay, okay, guys, okay. But I needed that because and just that community, right? Because from where I come from, like I'm a lot of the things that I do, I'm self-taught, but I can continuously learning, right? Like I'm continuously putting myself in workshops, I'm continuously paying for courses, continuously paying for development. So I'm constantly learning, but I didn't go maybe how some people would consider a traditional route into marketing or starting off at an agency. Like I've had people I know, like they start, so they kind of already have an idea, like how much are people, paying, how much is this worth, and all this. And I had more, at least in the beginning, more of an uphill battle. And the people I was kind of working with, I had to kind of convince them that to even market themselves. And so, like, I feel like over the years, it kind of made me just not see the value as much as needed in my services, right? And I knew how to do all these different things, both the coaching, it really helped me put things in perspective. I'm a spreadsheet gal as well. I love your spreadsheets. They really helped me just like visually see things. I'm the type of person, I keep a lot of things in my head. I may write things out, but having things in that spreadsheet organized where I can play with the data and stuff, that is really helpful. One of the things that I really enjoyed is when you kind of helped me see if like all the different mini services that I had. And it's just like not only just saying like, okay, these are all things you're doing, but like how much have you generated from these? um, and how do you feel about them? And I think that was kind of a big turning point for me of like, how do I feel about doing some of the services? Because there's been so many things I've been doing for so long and I was great at it, but I no longer was enjoying them, you know? And so that was causing hindrance because then, you don't want to keep talking about or pushing out something that you're not enjoying. I'm like, oh, why aren't I getting this? It's because people can tell. People can tell when and it was difficult because I was still kind of a little bit that employee mentality. It was like, well, I can do it, so people should let me do it. But it's about more than that, right? So your coaching really helped me with just kind of how I saw things and also saw things on the money side, as far as like what do I need to do to achieve my goals and not just like have this number out there, but like what are the actual steps, how many of my services do I need to have or to sell to be able to actually reach my goal instead of it just being kind of up in the air. So you really kind of help organize my brain on the business side because that was a place that I had been lacking. Like I'm really great with the skill, I'm really great doing it, and I had been, learned enough about the business side, but you really kind of helped solidify some business foundations that I needed to like get together, and that has just been like phenomenal.
I appreciate that, Crystal. I love that. When you say like help you organize your brain, right? Because that's definitely why I love spreadsheets so much. As former analyst, right? I'm always looking at data, right, and being able to organize it and be able to compartmentalize whatever. So I appreciate that you love the spreadsheets. I know that you're very data driven too. I think sometimes people think of social media folks as just very creative, and what I've loved about working with you because now for those of you who don't know, I've hired Crystal to work with me. I don't care that she doesn't have agency experience, right? Because she knows these platforms. I'll tell y'all, she knows Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like from my perspective, just as well as I know LinkedIn, and I know LinkedIn like the back of my hand. So I'm just all the other strategies on the other platforms. I'm like, I don't know, you deal with it. I have no idea. Like, so anyway, uh, being able to organize things as well. It was such a proud moment to see the cohort just rally for you too, in the Ready to Lead program, right? To like raise those rates, right? You're undercharging for sure. To see other BIPOC entrepreneurs like tell you like it's okay, like this is my experience. Like I've seen from a technical and an emotional standpoint, like it's gonna be okay, Crystal. Like go for it, right? So that's exciting, and yeah, just the organization because I say all the time, folks are really good. I love working with people who know they are excellent at what they do, but being a good coach or consultant or contracting service provider, right, is not the same as being a good business owner.
Mhm.
So, and that's more what I teach folks. Like, I can't teach you to be good at what you do. I can't teach you to be good at social media, like like guru here, but I can teach you how to look at the business, right? So I'm super glad that that's helped out to help you be really the executive of your business, right? The owner, the founder of your business, and be able to see everything. So, love to hear too, Crystal. What are some of the three like biggest learnings you've had during our time working together?
Yeah. So, one of them, like I already mentioned, raise my prices. Don't stop undervaluing myself and getting that feedback. I think some of the biggest learns is just really like asking for help, which as I think it definitely come from, being by like just like asking for help for certain things can has been like a struggle for me, and that's kind of why I wanted to go into coaching, because that was my way of like, no, like I need to stop trying to do so many things on my own, and I need to go to people who on a more personalized level, because I've done like kind of some bigger group things and stuff like that. You ask questions, but I wanted more of that personalized community and advice from people who have done this and know what they're doing to help lead me and help to be able to like really like kind of like give me focus a little bit, because this is something that it was some parts of the business side were a challenge for me. So I'm really grateful for that. And some other big lessons that are just benefits that I took away. Again, it's just being able to like really condense my product suite, and just being able to like focus on what not only what brings me in more joy as well as more money, and not being like afraid to like to focus on that, and not being like ashamed or anything. Like that's what I want. Like this is what I want. I want to help people. This is also just like work. You work so many hours a day. Like I want to do something that is very enjoyable for me, pleasant. I know running a business, everything isn't pleasant, but some days you're like, woo, but I would like the main aspects, the main parts, the journey, to be able to get value from that. Um, and so, yeah, so raising my prices, asking for help, and just having that community. I met some awesome people. I just met up with one of Kareem from one of your other cards yesterday. Like, and so just being able to have that community of people who understand. Like at this point in my journey, I do have like family and friends who, are very supportive. I'm very grateful to my husband. But it's still different than someone understanding and like really being a business owner themselves, and just you don't have to explain certain things, right? Like they just know, and they get it, and that is always great. And for it to be other people who have gone through probably similar struggles to me, because they're also BIPOC, they're also the first, the only, the other, like that is really beneficial.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you're finding community within the group and the cohort, because that's been such a big piece of what I have a bigger vision for, right? Is building this ecosystem. So proud of you on that. I'm curious now too, what are you most proud of? And maybe how have you surprised yourself in like any kind of wins you've had in building your business with clients, with like raising your rates, making more money, et cetera. Like, what are you most proud of?
So it might seem silly, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is finally getting my email like systems and platforms together. I have been fighting creating my like email platform. I've been doing things a certain way, and I knew that is something I need to do, especially being someone on social media. It's like, oh, cool. But it's like, that's not something to depend on, right? And so I knew I needed to be able to talk to my audience and to be able to know who was really, like for me. So I've actually done I've done two email campaigns while in the program. Each one went better than the last, as far as like getting more subscribers. And it's just so cool. It's like, and even with that kind of pressured or pushed me to like create landing pages, which is also something that I had just been hesitant around. Like so that has just been, I'm just very proud of myself for finally doing that, because it's been one of those things that, I've been like, oh, I've been thinking about. And, we had, I can't remember what section it was, but then again, that community, it was some other people who were struggling with that. And they're like, come on, let's do it. And just being able to know they were all kind of like getting over this resistance that we had, that was just, it was just helpful. It was helpful being having other people that were also facing that challenge, but we were like, we're going to face this together. Like that was wonderful.
I love that. Yeah, doing things for your business. But I think what I found in the community too is, in the cohort, was that I underestimated was that having that other person that is struggling and you're like, let's just freaking do it together. Like,
Yes.
it's been such a valuable bit, like element that I just totally underestimated when I launched this group program. So cool to hear that. It's cool to hear that all the connections that are being made. All right. So we talked a little bit about sustainability, and building your email list, right? Raising your prices, learning how to generate more leads and all that. It's all important. And what's the sustainable part of this? Like, how do you keep yourself grounded? Um, and really focusing, making sure that your whole self, your well-being is also intact as you do this hard thing called being an entrepreneur.
Um, that is that is interesting. So I would say for me, and I mean, I am in that wellness, I'm in that self-care space. So for me, at this point, it has gotten very natural to just really listen to my body. And I have been a type of person where before I would hear my body, but I wouldn't listen. And so I'm finally at a point where I'm listening. And so if I'm feeling, I can tell when I'm like, okay, I'm too tired to do this. I don't, there is it's sometimes you have to, but for the most part, there is very rare times that I just push myself over the ledge. Like it can wait till the next day. I remember you had a little snippet that you talked about not too long ago about just rest and the importance of rest. Like hands down, because when you're not rested, you're not thinking straight, it makes everything harder to do. You're probably gonna have to start over anyway. It just like it really doesn't make more sense. So I believe in naps. I love, like I said, I have my affirmation my affirmation cards, and doing things just as simple as like 10 to 15-minute yoga on YouTube, something I can do at home. I have a lot of wellness and self care practices that I use to just kind of keep me grounded and to make sure I'm taking care of me. Because if I'm taking care of me, then I can do all these other things. I can think clearer. I'm not making, this rash decisions, just all kinds of things. So it all really comes back, like we tend to think like, oh, we have to hustle, 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 which is how I had been burnt out so many times in the past, which is also why I gravitate towards people like you who encourage us to like leave that kind of mentality behind. And it's like, how can we build our businesses in a way that actually supports us? And so that's been really helpful for me. So I feel like maybe there's some areas I could be moving faster, but I'd rather have that quality time, with my family and friends, and not just completely, push them to the side. I'd rather like not be getting sick all the time because I'm burning myself out. I'd rather like get pleasure out of doing the things that I'm doing because I'm giving myself the time and not trying to rush, and give myself more buffer room, things of that nature. So those are some of the things that I like to use to just make sure that I am just creating a sustainable business for myself.
Yeah. Thanks for those tips, Crystal, because I think it's easy just, in this very toxic capitalistic kind of like society for us to, oh my God, we got to build the business. I got to make all this money. I got to make things happen tomorrow. Cause look at that entrepreneur over there on that social media, and like their social media is on fire kind of thing. And it, this is a hard path, right? It's not simple. It's, otherwise everyone would do it. Right. And to pace yourself, because I think that is a hard lesson. Sounds like there's been some hard lessons you've learned too about getting sick and such. That if we do not do that, our body will yell at us. It will eventually shut
Sit
down.
us down.
It will force us to, and now we have no business because we physically cannot actually do something, right? So, had to learn the tough lessons myself, and that's why I think it's so adamant. I call this, wellness and wisdom, because it's not just about what are the technical things you need to do, right? But how do you also sustain your health, your well-being, your emotional health, your mental wellness, all of that. To all of that together, working together is what makes it go. Right? So, last, but as we start to wrap up here, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, what you are looking forward to most about your future ahead. What are you looking or what are you doing to achieve time, location, financial and occupational freedom?
I am being more selective about who I work with
Mm,
because by I've had you know how they say all money isn't good money. And so
mm,
I've had some clients where I wish I could I just wish I would like just said no from the get-go. but but I've learned from that, and that allowed me to see like, okay, who do I work with well, who do I don't? But when I find those people that I work with well, and then we jive with, then it's like it's just only natural that we continue to work with each other, and it's not only natural that I continue to get better because I'm excited, right? I'm excited to work with them. I'm excited to help them. They're excited to be helped by me. And so that is kind of one of the things because with that, I'm just going to get better. People are going to, it's easier to get those raving fans, which means more people know about me, more people are seeking me out. And then that goes into that cycle of like, okay, what are the types of things that I can provide, that I can offer? And then going to no longer devaluing myself or lowballing myself. And that just really creates more of the freedom of all those things. Because then you reach a point where it's just like people talk about like the work life balance. And, I know there's a bunch of different opinions and views on that. But I did in the past have a point where it was just like, oh, it was just life, right? Like I was working, I was doing the things that I really enjoy. And I was around people that I doing it with people I really enjoy with. And so now I'm trying to do that for myself and my own business because I know it's possible that
mhm.
it just everything is kind of intertwined, which is why I really enjoy the things that I'm doing because they're all things that I enjoy. Like I love wellness events, I love fashion, I love marketing and data. Like I love all these things, and I'm able to combine them in a way that's unique to me and help others spread their own gifts. And so it doesn't necessarily certain things doesn't feel like work anymore, which just makes everything easier. Like I have more energy, I can do more things because I want to do them.
I mean, that's the dream, right, Crystal? Right? Why most of us want to leave is because we want that freedom to choose, right? To do, and it sounds like to be around the people that bring us joy, right? Whether that's in our personal lives and be able to spend more time with them, but also in the work that we do. I always say like when I first started my business, I was like, I just want to work with my friends, and so it's been amazing, having you as a client, having you as a colleague now too, right? It's like that's all I wanted to do. And why can't I have that? And what you said about, I believed I did it and I knew it was possible. So I could do it for myself. Right. And that belief is so important, right? Just believing I could leave and move to California, believing I could pitch to this restaurant and be a their social media manager, even without any technical formal experience. Right. I believe that I can build my business and spend more time with my husband and on the beach and going to cool events and meeting amazing people and being in community and supporting them too with my skills, right? So it sounds like it's all happening. It's all good, right? And super excited to see how you continue to move forward.
Yes, I'm
So
excited as well.
so lastly, since you are an affirmation gal, I'd love to hear from you. What is one word of affirmation for yourself to really just sum up where you are today as a business owner and what you'll be taking away from the experience of, working with like the cohort with myself? What will you take with you going forward?
Um, One word I'll have to say is grace,
Mm,
because again, being the first, the only, the other, there's a lot of learning that has to be done. And, we try to compare ourselves to a lot of different people and we don't know what their journey was. Even if they, show us the highlights on social media, we really don't know what people are going through or what they did to get to where they've gotten, right? And so I have to just focus on my own journey and what it is that I'm trying to achieve and how I can get better and just give myself grace for the times when I don't get it right, because there are going to be times I don't get it right, and just being able to be okay with that and to just keep pushing forward again. So that would be my word. It's just grace, giving myself that love that I would extend to anyone else, and to be able to extend that to myself.
yeah. I love that, Crystal. Thank you so much. Just so much gratitude for you for trusting me as your coach, coming on and being part of the program, trusting your fellow like, cohort members, trusting yourself to do all these things, all these new things.
But it's scary sometimes.
Scary sometimes, and that's the power of community, right? When you have folks that you can lean on and learn from as well. We do this together, right? We do all of this together. So thanks, Crystal, and thank you everyone who's been joining us or watching today. If you liked anything that Crystal had to share here today, I would very much encourage you to connect with her. Also, curious, Crystal, before we wrap up, what's exciting for you? What are you working on now, and how can people continue to work with you or find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of people know me for my content repurposing services, Multiply Your Content. I love taking like long form videos, audio, written content, and turning them into short form videos. Something that I am talking about more is my market and style services. And I'm really excited about that because it's a little bit of the Multiply Your Content, but also a lot of just kind of helping people get to that point where they can multiply their content. So basically, what I do is I help wellness entrepreneurs, especially speakers and facilitators. I attend basically like if they have a speaking engagement, a photo shoot, a retreat, things of that nature. I style them for it. And then I go with them as their personal vibe catcher. And I take authentic and candid videos so people can really get to know who you are, can see, how you are, can see you in action of doing the things that you do best. And so that way you can attract more people to, work with you to experience you. So that is something I'm really excited about right now. I love clothing. I love styling. I love the videos, and then just bringing it all together to just amplify, that business owner, like all of that just brings me great joy. So I'm excited to be doing more of that.
Yeah. Also, Crystal, I will vouch for Crystal in the sense that, like, yeah, even though you've been my client now, like, I'm yours, right? Like, because I thought it was so brilliant that, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm a speaker, and how much have I been missing because I just show up for a speaking engagement and I'm fashioned out, like I'm all ready, got my hair, my makeup is done, and I'm giving this speech or this talk or facilitating this workshop, and then we're done. And unless the venue had a photographer or a videographer, and if I get access to any of that stuff, I really don't have anything from evidence of that at all. And I don't have my social media manager just like running around behind me, right? And so I'm like, oh my god, like yes to this like day of like day of service and whatnot, and all of that, capturing all of that content to help amplify the work I already do for something I'm already there.
Already doing,
I'm already doing it. And
already doing it.
it's not focused on any of this. It's focused on delivering that talk, right? And so if you can take all of that off my plate, and I didn't even think about it in the first place, right? It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So totally a fan, and y'all should definitely check out check out Crystal. So again, thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us. If for the rest of you who are watching, if you are curious about coaching and want to learn more about my coaching programs, my community events, I'm always doing something, whether it's a LinkedIn Live, audio, right, events, networking opportunities, etc., and obviously coaching. I'd love to chat with you. So you can go to CONSCIOUSXCHANGE.com. You can look at all the different services and also book a call with me. I'd love to chat with you and meet you. All right. Thank you so much again for everyone joining me on this Built by BIPOC Wellness or Wisdom and Wellness Wednesday. And I'll see you next time. Bye.